So last week I just went through basic washes. So I did a little bit of flat washes and did a little bit of graded washes. So that was a theme there. And then the exercises were suggesting it was something like a kind of mountain scene with various tones thrown up in the way. I'll try and paint from this side, that'll be it. This week I thought I'd move on to painting wet into wet. So the rest of what we did last week was onto dry paper. This is either wetting the whole paper with the first colour or actually dampening the paper in the first place. So you could work it either way. And I thought I'd use this image here. So if everybody wants to have a go at this exercise, I've got some photographs somewhere that you could use. And I picked this one because in a way it's the most straightforward. It's not over-complicated on the drawing or the painting. Just check that's still right. Yeah, it is. Right, okay, so it's using watercolour paper, and so what we need to do first is just mix plenty of paint. So I'm going to start with the yellow. So just mix a good quantity. Use that brush to get the paint out. And then what I'm also going to need at the same time is something a little bit kind of purpley grey at the top. This morning it was pretty difficult to paint because this is far too steep really. So what I might do is try and do it first. So I'll just mix a kind of purpley grey, which I've got probably enough of there. I think that's perfect. It's good to have it slightly purpley rather than blue because otherwise once it hits the yellow it'll just go green. So it keeps it from getting too, and it is a little bit purpley anyway. And then just using a nice big brush, so a nice big kind of wash brush. And I think I've got a couple of these, if you want to borrow a brush, I've got a couple of different brushes. If you haven't got anything that's that terribly big. Or the other alternative is just work a bit smaller, do some small studies. So just dampen that a little bit. So the idea is to have this fairly wet. If you wanted, you could wet the whole page first. I'm not really bothered with that. I'll just wash that out and then go into the yellow. And that can just kind of mingle and mix a little bit at the top there. And you can, go on all of it because it doesn't matter if it's underneath that area. And then you've got a nice wet paper, and while it's wet, you can kind of keep working it. You can kind of work darker colours and that sort of thing into it, or lift areas out. So, for instance, here it's just a little bit lighter here. So if I wanted to lift that out, just get a nice clean brush, and I should be able to kind of just make some areas slightly lighter by lifting that out. But also going darker, so I've put some slightly stronger greys on the top there. So a little bit of purple and a little bit of brown, just to make it grey. And with this paint, I've gone a slightly smaller brush, and I don't want this too thin. So this needs to be slightly thicker paint, otherwise it will just wash away what's there. So I want to put some. That's already started to dry a bit too quickly at the top. You kind of work some dark shadows into there, and maybe some reds as well. So mixing a kind of orangey, reddy colour. This area there. And I'm using this as a bit of general inspiration. It doesn't have to be exactly this. You can just use that as a starting point. Let's see, I think possibly it's a little bit warmer than it was first thing this morning. And the paint is drying quite a bit quicker on the page. So yeah, the edges it's definitely dry. So that's probably about as far as I can go on that. With where the trees are, can then let that dry and then paint the trees over the top. Or if we wanted some areas of sort of working softer edges, wet and wet, I can make a darker, slightly reddy, browny colour. And some of the, just kind of get some soft edge trees, a little bit like that. So that will give you almost like a sort of misty look. So if you wanted to paint trees in mist or something like that, that's quite a nice technique to use, so that you don't have everything. See, just at the edges starting to dry, so I'm getting sharper edges. Well, that can be quite nice. And then, yeah, you can either do that across there with the trees and let it dry, or just paint that sort of thing and let that dry. And then once that's dry, you could then put some trees over the top. So that's what I did earlier in the week, which I think was that way up. Swap that over. So it's kind of fine to work on dry paper or wet paper, but when it's just a little bit damp, it's best not to, because you find that you'll then start to lift off paint that you've just put on. So kind of wait for it to be completely dry, or just have it really nice and wet. So I'm mixing really a blackish colour, and again I need to mix plenty of paint, because I want to be able to put the paint on in one go. So just really mixing loads of this, because once I start, I don't want to start mixing paint, because it'll be already drying. So you can always test this out on a bit of scrap paper, and then kind of work your way along really. If you wanted, you could have sketched this in pencil first. But if you're feeling confident enough to just draw the trees as you go. Something like that. As you can see, just going back to that kind of well of paint. Then these darker areas, just try and paint those in quite quickly so that I don't get areas that have dried out. So that's the end of the painting right there. And then just keeping one kind of wet edge here. Looking into, so this will be the next bit. And let that move across. And so on and so forth, just carrying on across. Is that okay? Any questions on that? So yeah, it's quite a nice exercise. I've got this image, or if you want other sunset images, if you wanted to have a go at this. But it's quite a nice one because you're working from lighter colours to darker colours. The other thing with this is if you wanted, while it is still wet, and if you wanted to make some bits even darker still, kind of darken areas, sort of thing. And just to kind of vary the tone a little bit. Hello. Right, okay.
So, Paul, you can actually paint over your, even if it's wet.
Yeah, yeah.
Paint over.
You can still paint into, sort of like painting into it, really.
Into it.
So it's like where the colour, and that way you get if you want these nice soft edges. So painting into something wet will give you very soft edges. If you want it really sharp edges, then let it dry. And we've got the hairdryer here if you want hairdryer. Also, again, like last week, I've still got watercolour paper if you want any paper. It's 40 pence a sheet. Also got guillotine here, we can chop it up with. So if you need anything, just let me know.